Hello, today we are going to be talking about simple string methods. So just to reiterate strings, a string is a series of letters, numbers, punctuation, spaces, etc. So basically it's always going to be surrounded by quotes and it's just going to hold a bunch of characters inside. And characters being a letter, a number, punctuation, space, just any type of key you can think of on the keyboard. So typically a string will be a word or a sentence. In this case, we are going to declare a variable named Jerry, and it's going to hold the string Seinfeld inside it. Now, let's look at the definitions. Length basically is how many characters there are, and when you want to count how many characters there are, you always want to start at 1. So let's count the number of characters in the string, Seinfeld. So we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So Jerry.length is going to be 8. I will rewrite that a little better. I'll actually type it so that you can actually see it. There we go. That's 8. So now what we will do is we will evaluate these things called charAt. So charAt will have a number inside, will have a number inside the parentheses, and that's going to indicate the index or position. So the index or position always starts at 0. So the first letter, the S, is going to be 0. The second letter is going to be 1. The third letter, the I, is going to be 2. The fourth letter, N, is position 3, etc. So let's look at Jerry.charAt1. So when we do this, charAt1, character at position 1, is the letter E. Now let's try Jerry.charAt4. So at position 4, it's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the letter F. And that's what we do. So, and by the way, if you get something that's not within the bounds of the string, then you get something called an out-of-bounds exception. So for example, let's say I were to do like Jerry.charAt10. Okay, so there is no 10th position or index, so in this case you would get what's called an out-of-bounds exception. Let me try to type that in. This would be an out-of-bounds exception. Now let's try to analyze some other things about the string. So the last character, what position is the last character going to be at? Well, notice the length of the character is 8 because we started counting at 1. However, for the positions we started counting at 0, so that means the last character is always going to be 1 less than the length. So in this case, the last character is 7. So the last character is always going to be at position length minus 1. In this case, it's going to be Jerry.length minus 1 because that's the name of our string. Similarly, the second to last character is going to be at the position just before that one, so that's at position 6, which was going to be Jerry.length minus 2. And then the character, the third to last position, so that would be third to last letter is E, which is at 5, so this would be Jerry.length minus 3. And so you can basically see a pattern so that we can always grab the last character, the second to last character, or the third to last character of the string, regardless of how long the string is. Let's go over the substring method. So for the substring method, it's going to take part of the string, starting at the position in front and ending at the position that's second in the back, but it's not going to include that second position. So if you look at this definition for substring, substring xy takes out part of the string from x to y, but does not include y. So let's do substring from 1 to 3. Position 1 to position 3 would be EIN But remember, we don't include the 3. So this one would just be EI. Let's now do substring 2 to 6. So I'll erase this. Let's go from 2 to 6. Okay, but don't include that 6. So this would just be INFE. So I'll try to write that as neatly as I can here. INFE. Remember, you don't include that position here when it comes to substring. Okay, let's try some others. So we'll go ahead and erase this. Let's try substring 4 to 8. So 4 to 8. Now wait a minute. It doesn't include an 8 because there is no 8th character. But that's actually okay because we don't include the 8th character. So this is fine. So we can go ahead and call this one FELD, F-E-L-D. Let's now try 4 to 9. Now 4 to 9 really wants to grab on to an 8th character. However, there is no 8th character in Seinfeld, so this actually generates an error. So this is when we would go ahead and do out of bounds exception. Just like the next example, -1 to 2. That one is also going to be an out of bounds exception because there is no such position as -1. The last thing we will do is the indexOf method. So the indexOf method helps you find the index or position of a character or phrase. So according to this definition, indexOf finds the first index on the left. If it's not found, then the answer is -1. So let's try this. IndexOf E. Well, let's see what position is or index is E at. Well, as you can see, we have an E at position 1 and an E at position 5. But you always want to pick just the one on the left. So each of these methods, just like your methods, you can only return one answer when you write a method. So same thing with the string method. You only have one answer. So you're going to pick the one on the left, and that's 1. Let's do another one. So indexOf N. It looks like N is in a different spot, and there's no other N's. So that's at index or position 3. 0, 1, 2, 3. Great. Let's try the next one. IndexOf FEL. So FEL is here. Now that's multiple numbers. We want the position that it starts at. So FEL, we found it starts at position 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So this one is going to be a 4. Let's now try position of field. So field, oh wait, there is no field. There's feld, but field is not in Seinfeld. So because there is no field, that answer is just going to be -1. Oops. And same with these other ones. Actually, neither Z nor X are in Seinfeld. So those are both going to have the answers of -1. Something to keep in mind, you might be wondering, what's the difference between the double quotes and the single quotes? Well, the double quotes can hold a string or a whole phrase, but the single quotes can only hold one letter, or a character. So I'll just write that here. Can hold strings, double quotes can hold strings more than one character. And the single quotes can hold only one character. So only one letter, number, punctuation, one space. That's it. So in case you were wondering the difference. That's it. Let me know if you have any questions.